and then he wanted to know what's going on. So after the checkup, the doctor comes out with the result, and he said, I'm afraid I have some bad news. You are dying and you don't have much time, the doctor says. Oh my God, oh no, that's terrible. How long have I got? The man asked, 10. The doctor said, 10. 10 what? 10 what? 10 months and weeks, 10 what? And he desperate, and the doctor said 10, 9, 8. Yesterday, the joke we could make it into our group, like a Kuan messenger came back, after the seminar, and the master asked him, well, how goes your seminar? Oh, good. Almost 100% people stay for convenient method. And then, oh, really? That's good. How many were there? 1. But you say almost 100%. Yeah. He almost got convenient method. He almost want to learn convenient method. Yeah. I think I told you already this, but just in case. A watermelon farmer was determined to scare off the local kids who went into his watermelon patch every night to eat their fill. So after some thought, he made a sign that said, warning, don't eat this watermelon. One of these watermelons has been injected with cyanide. Okay, so he thought it was pretty cool, The kid would be scared and don't dare to eat. So he come home sleep. Next morning, he come out, there's another sign next to it. Say, now there were 2. So he also don't dare take any. Oh, terrible kid. A very shy guy goes into a bar and sees a beautiful woman sitting at the bar. After an hour of gathering up his courage, he finally goes over to her and asks, would you mind if I chatted with you for a while? She responds by yelling at the top of her lungs, no, I won't sleep with you tonight. Everyone in the bar is now staring at them. Naturally, the guy is hopeless and completely embarrassed. He slinks back to his table. After a few minutes, the woman walks over to him and apologizes. She smiles at him and says, I'm sorry if I embarrassed you. You see, I am a graduate student in psychology and I am studying how people respond to embarrassing situations. To which he responds at the top of his lung also. So, what do you mean $200? It's not that shy anymore. That guy. Okay. A pretty girl walked up to a department store's counter, a fabric counter, and asked, I want to buy this material for a new dress. How much it cost? So the clerk was very mischievous. He said, just 1 kiss per yard. And then he smiled, That's fine, the girl said. That's fine. I will take 10 yards. Okay, with expectation, written all over his face. He hurriedly measured out and wrapped the cloth, then hurried out teasingly. The girl wrapped and snapped up the package and pointed to a little old man standing beside her. Said, Grandpa, you pay the bill. One day this guy walks into a bar and asks the bartender for a drink. Then he asks for another. After a couple more drinks, the bartender gets worried. What's the matter? He asks the customer. Well, my wife and I got into a fight, explained the guy. And now she isn't talking to me for the whole 31 days. The bartender thought about this and then said, but isn't that a good thing that she isn't talking to you? Yeah, except today is the last night. So miserable. Going to have to talk again. A drunk decides to go into ice fishing, so he gathers his gear and goes walking around until he finds a big patch of ice. He heads into the center of the ice and begins to saw a hole. All of a sudden, a loud booming voice comes out of the sky. "You will find no fish under that ice." The drunk looks around, but sees no one. He starts sawing again. Once more the voice speaks. "As I said before, there are no fish under the ice." The drunk looks around, high and low, but can't see a single soul. He picks up the saw and tries one more time to finish. Before he can even start cutting, the huge voice interrupts again. "I have warned you there 3 times now. There are no fish." The drunk is now flustered and somewhat scared, so he asks the voice, "How do you know there are no fish? Are you God trying to warn me or something?" "No," the voice replied. "I am the manager of this hockey rink." hockey rink. Yeah, there's nothing a drunk will do. There was another story. You will come up later, but maybe. There were 3 guys sitting in the asylum, in the mental nut house, in the night. Suddenly he said, "You know what? I am Moses." And the next guy next to him said, "Oh, garbage. How you know that? What do you think, you Moses?" "Well, God told me so." And long after a while, there's a voice next the cell next door said, "I didn't." I did not. Okay. You understand, yeah? The 3 inmates. Yeah? This fat guy sees an ad for new gym, guaranteed to reduce anyone's weight by 10 or 20 kilograms on the first day. So he goes and tells them he wants to lose 5 kilograms. They strip in and let him to a huge gym with all kinds of ropes and parallel bars and ladders and tell him to wait a minute. He's standing there when on the far side of the gym a door opened and out stepped a beautiful blonde with a sign saying, "Catch me if you can, then I'm yours." So he starts running, and just as he gets close, she starts pick up speed. Before he knows, he's running all over the gym, up the ladder, down the ladder, across the parallel bars, here and there. And just as he's about to catch the blonde, pop, she disappears through a door. In comes the management who lead him to the shower, then weighed him. Sure enough, he lost exactly 5 kilograms. He's back on the street and started to think, Jesus, I was so close to catching her. If I had a little more time. So he raced back to the gym and said, I want to lose 20 kilograms more. No problem, says the manager. Again he stripped and is led to the last gym. This time he's standing by the door when it opens. Out comes a gorilla with a sign. If I catch you, you are mine. A man was wandering around in a field, thinking about how good his wife had been to him and how fortunate he was to have her. He asked God, why did you make her so kind-hearted? Then the Lord responded, so you could love her, my son. Why did you make her so good-looking? So you could love her, my son. I think you know this already. Why did you make her such a good cook? Well, so you could love her also, my son. The man thought about this. Then he said, I don't mean to seem ungrateful or anything, but why did you make her so stupid? God said, yeah, so she could love you, my son. How else? Huh? How else would any woman love any man? Not just this one. A guy is, went to the heaven. A guy is going to heaven waiting to be admitted. St. Peter is leading through a big book to see if he's worthy of entering. But he didn't say, he didn't see anything he do good at all. Nothing bad either. So, okay, if you tell me one of your really good deeds that you did in your life, then I let you in. Probably just, I don't know why he couldn't find anything. So the guy thinks for a moment and said, well, there was this one time when I was driving down the highway and I saw a giant group of KKK, what gang, assaulting this poor girl. So I slowed down my car to see what's going on, and then sure enough, there were 50 of them harassing this girl. So I was infuriated. I got out of my car, grabbed a tire iron out of my trunk, and walked straight up to the leader of the gang. He was very huge, big and studded leather jacket, and a chain running from his nose to his ears. So I walked up to the leader, and all the gang formed a circle around me. So I ripped the leader's chain off his face and smashed him over the head. Then I turned around and yelled to the rest of the group, leave this poor innocent girl alone. You are all a bunch of sick, deranged animals. Go home before I teach you a lesson in pain. St. Peter was very impressed. I said, oh, really? When did this happen? He said, well, about 2 minutes ago. You got it, huh? Yeah. 2 minutes. 2 nuns are ordered to paint a room in the convent, and the last instruction of the Mother Superior is that they must not get even a drop of paint on their habits. Their clothes. Yeah. After conferring about this for a while, the 2 nuns decide to lock the door of the room, strip off their habits, and paint in the nude. In the middle of the project, there comes a knock at the door. Who is it? One of the nuns asked. Blind man, replied the voice from the other side of the door. Oh, blind man, okay. The 2 nuns look at each other and shrug and decided that no harm can come from leading a blind man into the room. So they open the door. Nice teeth, said the man. Where do you want me to hang these blinds? I'm sorry, it's a little bit rude, I didn't know that. The blind man. Another nun. 2 nuns were driving along the highway when their car ran out of gas in front of the hospital. They went into the hospital and asked about borrowing something to use for getting gas from the service station to the car. The hospital only had urinals to offer, so the nuns said, sure, that will work. As they were pouring gas out of the urinal into the car's gas tank, a motorist drove by and said to his friend, talk about faith. You understand, huh? The hospital, they have those things, you know, to urinate at night, and they pour gas into it and put it in there, but they thought it's a real thing. Last one night, 2 ministers are driving home from visits with members of their respective congregation. Now, these gentlemen are driving on a country road, traveling in opposite directions, and are very tired. As fate would have it, upon rounding a rather severe curve in the road, their vehicles collide. After the smoke has cleared, both men exit their vehicles. They approach each other, check each other over, and are satisfied that neither one has been injured. So finally, the first one said to the other, well, I don't know about you, but I believe that I could stand a little nip to calm my nerves. So he returned to his car and removed the bottle of whiskey from the glove, and then, you know, returned to the other and said, do you want some? You know, the gentleman, the other minister took the bottle from him and took a sip and then passed it back to the first. But the first minister simply screwed the lid back on the bottle and returned the same to his glove compartment. The second minister already drunk something already. Sipped some and said, somewhat surprised, and said, "What? Aren't you going to have some too?" The first minister said, "No, I'm gonna wait for the cups." Don't understand? Now the other wife will smell alcohol. Talking about faith. That minister. He give alcohol to the other guy, but he doesn't drink. So when the cops come, who's going to be at fault? The police will blame whom? Know what I mean, huh? Not me, I'm going to wait for the cops. Okay, Christian lady. There was this Christian lady that had to do a lot of traveling for her business, so he did a lot of flying. Flying made her nervous, so she always took her Bible along with her to read, and it helped relaxing her. One time she was sitting next to a man. When he saw her pull out the Bible, he gave a little chuckle and went back to what he was doing. After a while, he turned to her and asked, "You don't really believe all that stuff in there, do you?" The lady replied, "Of course I do. It is the Bible." He said, "Well, what about that guy that was swallowed by the whale?" She replied, "Oh, Jonah. Yes, I believe that. It is in the Bible." He asked, "Well, how do you suppose he survived all that time inside the whale?" The lady said, "Well, I don't really know. I guess when I get to heaven, I will ask him." The man asked sarcastically, "What if he isn't in heaven?" The lady then said, "Then you can ask him yourself." Understand? If he's not in heaven, then he's in hell, then that's where he goes. You know, that guy, the man, then you can ask him yourself. You got it? Yeah. An old priest was getting sick and tired of all the people in his parish who kept confessing adultery. So one Sunday in the pulpit he said, "If I hear one more person confess to adultery, I'll quit." Everyone liked him. So the parishioners came up with a code word. Someone who had committed adultery would say they had fallen. Just fallen. Fallen, yeah? There. This seemed to satisfy the old priest, and things went well until the priest died at the ripe old age. About a week after the new priest arrived, he visited the mayor of town and seemed very concerned. The priest said, "You have to do something about the sidewalks in town. When people come in confession, they keep talking about having fallen." The mayor started to laugh, realizing that no one had told the new priest about the code word. The priest shook an accusing finger at the mayor and said, "I don't know what you are laughing about. Your wife fell 3 times this week." A freshman professor. A freshman in college started his first day of class. His professor was clearly an atheist and started the day by saying the following: "Students, is there anyone here who can see God? If so, raise your hand." If there nobody raise hand. "Is there anyone who can hear God? Raise your hand." Nobody raise hand. "If there is anyone who can smell God, raise your hand." After a long while, without any response from the students, he concluded, "Since nobody can see, smell, or hear God, I concluded that there isn't any God." Then the student then raised his hand and asked if he could address the class. Sure enough, the professor said, "Okay." Then the student approached the class and asked, "Students, can anyone here see the professor's brain? Raise your hand." Can anyone smell the professor's brain? Raise your hand. After a short pause, he said, "So since no one can hear, see, or smell professor's brain, I concluded that the professor has no brain." You know already the rest, right? A man get a telephone call from a doctor. The doctor says, about this medical test I did on you, I have some good news and some bad news. The man asks for good news first. The good news is that you have 24 hours to live. Says the doctor. My God, the man incredulously, is that the good news? Then what is the bad news? He said, the bad news is I couldn't reach you yesterday. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, fool. Heaven or hell. There were two guys who died recently. And they were given the option to stay either in heaven or hell for the rest of eternity. They asked if it was okay. They looked around first and saw, to their surprise, it's okay. First they went to heaven. All the nice guys were there. They were all dressed in white and sitting on clouds, playing their harp. Quite a boring place, they told each other. Let's go to hell. So they went. Hell turned out to be a completely different scene. It was all bars, casinos, amusement park, free drinks for everyone, and a lot of people having a real good time. So back from hell, the guys were asked to choose between heaven and hell, and they all picked hell. So back in hell, they were immediately scuffed in the back of a subsurface car and driven to a coal mine. They were each given a shovel and told to start working. What is this? The last time we were here, the place was entirely different. It was all fun and beautiful and amusing. Yes, but then you were tourists, now you are immigrants. Immigrants have to work. It was all advertisement. Two boys and a girl were boasting about their father. One said, my father bathed twice a week, said the first boy. The girl said, that's nothing, my father bathed 3 times a week. Oh yeah? Said the second boy, my dad is so clean, he never had to take a bath. Any of you guys like that? No? A rabbi, a Hindu, and a lawyer, supposed to be. I don't know why they make so many bad jokes about lawyers. A rabbi, a Hindu, and a lawyer were driving late at night, and their car expired. So they set out to find help, and they came into a farmhouse. And the farmer informed that they have only 2 beds, which they're welcome to, and one of the 3 had to sleep in the barn with the animals. So the 3 said, okay. The rabbi said he would sleep in the barn and let the other 2 have the bed. 10 minutes after the rabbi left, there was a knock on the bedroom door. The rabbi entered, exclaiming, I can't sleep in the barn, there is a pig in there. It's against my religion to sleep in the same room with a pig. So the Hindu said, well, he would sleep in the barn as he had no religious problem with the pig. However, about 5 minutes later, the Hindu burst through the bedroom door saying, there is a cow in the barn. I can't sleep in the same room with a cow. It's against my religion. The lawyer, anxious to get to sleep, said he would go to the barn then. He had no problem with sleeping with any of those animals. So in 2 minutes, the bedroom door burst open again, and the pig and the cow entered. You got it so quick then. My God. There were 2 friends, were 2 of the famous baseball fans, or 2 big baseball fans in America for the whole life. They always, talk, discuss, and anything about baseball. Yeah. And they went to every baseball possible year round. And they said to each other, if whoever died first would try to come back and tell the other if there was baseball in heaven. So one summer night, one of them passed away after watching the you know, a baseball game, of course. He died happy, man. A few nights later, he came back to, his friend heard a voice, his voice, from beyond saying, I'm your friend. And the other guy said, oh, John, is that you? Of course it's me. John replied, is it unbelievable? Bob exclaimed, so tell me, is there baseball in heaven? John said, well, I have some good news and some bad news for you. Which do you want to hear first? Tell me the good news first. Okay, well, the good news is that, yes, there is baseball in heaven. And Bob said, oh, that is wonderful. So what could possibly be the bad news? The bad news is you are pitching tomorrow night. You got it, huh? There's a farmer who has a twin daughter. When the first girl was born, they named her Kate. And the second one was born a few minutes later, they named her Duplicate. The lady had two daughters, both married, and she bragged on both of her son-in-law. She said, oh, they both want me to visit at the same time, she said. The one in the east wants me to be in the west, and the one in the west wants me in the east. They both want the same time. Yeah. Okay. There's a minister delivering a sermon in 10 minutes, about half of the normal time. So he apologized and said, I am sorry to inform you that my dog, who is very fond of eating paper, he ate the half of the portion of my sermon, which I have not delivered this morning. I'm very sorry. After the service, a visitor from another church shook hands with the preacher and said, Pastor, if that dog of yours has any puppy, I want to get one to give it to my minister in my church. The two farmers, meet each other, and the first one asked, didn't your horse have this disease that's going around? Sure, he did. He had it bad, replied the second friend. What did you do for him? Asked the first farmer. Well, I dosed him good with a half pint of linseed oil, a tablespoon of turpentine, and 3 tablespoons of castor oil. A few days later, the two farmers met again. Didn't you tell me you gave your horse a half pint of linseed oil, a tablespoon of turpentine, and 3 tablespoons of castor oil? The first farmer asked the second. And the second says, yes, I sure did. I thought that's what you said, but when I gave it to my horse, he died. He said, of course, mine also did. He just asked, but he didn't ask whether it's good or not. He come home did the same stuff. You got it, huh? Yeah. A 6-year-old boy went fishing for the first time with his father. He was rather bored by the whole event, so after about an hour, he took a walk in the woods. A few minutes later, his father heard a strange cry. He found a man hopping around on one foot, caressing the other foot and groaning painfully. What happened? What happened? Asked the father. His 6-year-old son spoke up and said, well, I guess it's my fault, Daddy. This man told me that he hadn't a bite all morning, so I beat him. There was a farmer who fell and broke his hip while he was plowing. So his horse galloped 5 miles to the nearest town and returned carrying a doctor on his back. Pretty smart horse, a friend observed later. Well, not really so smart, the farmer said, because the doctor, he brought back what the veterinarian. Of course, what do you expect? A horse. That's cute. The teacher asked, a teacher asked the kid, if your mother cut 2 oranges and 2 bananas in 10 pieces, what will you get? And the kid said, fruit salad. You guys probably answer the same. Yeah? Thinking about food all the time. The boy went to buy 95 cents of bread, 95-cent loaf of bread. And while the clerk was putting the bread into the bag, the boy noticed that the loaf was not very big. So he said, isn't this a small loaf of bread for 95 cents? He asked. So the clerk said, yeah, then you have less to carry. So the boy put 2 quarters on the counter only. Well, you are 45 cents short, said the clerk. That's right, the kid said. You have less to count. This will give me pressure, you know. If it wasn't there, I don't have to tell. There are so many jokes that I don't have time to read for the retreat, you know. So we get lag behind, you know, this. Okay, a farmer was in the post office when suddenly the neighbor came rushing in and shouted, I think somebody is stealing your pickup truck. The farmer ran out and then returned right away. Did you stop him? Asked the neighbor. No, he was too fast. But I got his license plate number. That would be me. I don't even know my license plate number ever. There's a lady from the countryside, you know. She come into a city and check in a hotel. And she said to the bellman, I refuse to take this tiny room like this with no window and no bed in it. You can't treat me like a fool just because I don't travel much. I'm going to complain to the manager. So the bellman said very politely, Madam, this isn't your room. This is the elevator. A pastor was invited into a home to have lunch of a rich family, church members. So the pastor surprised. To the pastor's surprise, and that even of the family, there was no knife, fork, or spoon at the pastor's plate, seat. The wife asked her young daughter why she had not placed any silverware at the pastor's seat place. So the daughter replied, oh, he doesn't need any, because Daddy says he eats like a horse. Yesterday was a goat, today is a horse. Poor pastor, I don't know why they call him horse. Another pastor and a man here. A man, after being married for 2 years, went to the pastor and said, Pastor, I'm in trouble. That woman you married me to. The pastor asked, what's the trouble, son? Well, she is always wanting money, 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 money all the time. So the pastor asked, what does she do with all the money you give her? Well, I don't know. I haven't given her any yet. 2 years. And another minister. There's a minister who is very conservative and, you know, mild-mannered. Was called to a church in a community where many residents bred and raised horses. A few weeks later, he was asked to have the congregation pray for May Rose. Yeah, he gladly and willingly did for 3 weeks. On the 4th Sunday, the church member that requested the prayer informed the minister that the prayers were no longer necessary. So the minister was aghast. Why? Did she die? No. She won the race. The horse, horse race. He was praying because he's ill or something. A college student went into the men's section of the department store and asked for 7 pairs of underwear. The clerk asked him, why just 7? He said, well, for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Yeah. So the next day, another college student came in and also asked for 7 pairs of underwear, also for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, etc. And later, another fellow came in and asked for some underwear. The clerk said, sure, and I bet you want 7 pairs. For Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, right? He said, nope, I want 12 pairs. And the clerk said, 12? The college student said, yes, yes, 12 for January, February, March. A farmer was lifting his pick up to a tree to eat an apple growing there. A passerby saw him doing this and said, why don't you take a bunch of apples and put them in a trough? It will save time. You dummy, sneered the farmer. Pig don't care about time. Pigs have a lot of time. The teacher was asking the class, Georgia, go to the map and find North America for me. And the Georgia went to the map and pointed to a place and said, here is North America. And the teacher asked, correct? Teacher said, correct, that's good, good, good. Now, class, who discovered America? And the whole class said, Georgia. My God, doesn't it sound familiar? And the teacher asked Willie, can you tell me one important thing that we have today, but we didn't have 10 years ago? And Willie said, meat. And the daughter came home and asked, Daddy, can you write? Can you sign in the dark? Can you write in the dark? Father said, I think so. What do you want me to write? Oh yeah, your name on this report card. Oh, you understood so well. Mother does the same thing. A teacher was teaching hygiene and asked the class, asked the students, do you know how we can prevent disease caused by biting insects? So the students say, yes, I know, just don't bite any. Don't bite any of them. A new preacher at church began his sermon. He was a little nervous. About 10 minutes into the talk, his mind went blank. He remembered what they had taught him in seminary to do in a situation like this, is to repeat your last point, and then that will remind you of what to speak more further. What coming next? So he thought he would give it a try. And then he repeated his last point, that behold, I'm coming quickly, he said. But still his mind still blank. So he tried again. He said, behold, I'm coming quickly. Still nothing happened. He tried once more time with such a force that he fell forward, knocking the pulpit to one side, tripping over a flower pot and falling into the lap of the little old lady in the front row. The young preacher apologized and tried to explain what happened. But the old woman said, oh, that's all right, young man, that's all right. It was my fault. I should have gotten out of the way. You told me 3 times you're coming. Well, what? You cook beans again? So the wife said, well, why not? I don't understand it. You like beans on Monday, you like beans on Tuesday, you like beans Wednesday, and now why suddenly you don't like beans anymore? Beans? That's probably a Mexican wife. A judge, addressing a man who is arrested for gambling, and say, and he was defending for himself, he said, we were not playing for money, Your Honor. We were just playing for chips. The chips in the gambling, yeah? So the judge said, chips are just the same as money. I fine you $15. So the defendant looked very sad, then slowly reached into his pocket and handed the judge 3 blue chips. And in the courtroom, the judge sentenced some criminal for 30 years in prison. And the prisoner said, "But sir, I will not live that long." The judge said, "Don't worry, do what you can." I don't know if you're used to with the like a chorus and as a bass joke. But there's one here that even picked for me. It's not my book, okay, it's a collection of somebody somewhere here. There was a woman and a dentist, it said. A woman who had some painful experiences in the dentist's chair went one day for a checkup and was told she would need a major filling. As the dentist laid out his materials, equipment, and prepared to drill, the woman reached under the dentist's white coat and gently took hold of his testicles and put it there. And the dentist was embarrassed. "Madam, what are you doing?" And the lady smiled and said, "Well, doctor, we wouldn't want to hurt each other, would we?" There's the husband whose wife is in labor, so he called the maternity ward and say in an exciting voice, "This is Georgia, and I'm bringing my wife. She's having a baby." "Calm down, calm down," replied the nurse. "Tell me, is this her first baby?" "No, this is her husband." I always get similar answer all the time. You know, you never get what you ask for. A man in a supermarket was pushing a baby cart, you know, with a baby and other things in it. And the baby was screaming, screaming, screaming. The man kept proceeding along the aisle and he kept repeating softly to himself, softly, "Keep calm, Georgia. Don't get excited, Georgia. Be good, Georgia. Don't yell, Georgia." And the lady was watching with admiration, and then she said, "You are certainly to be commended for your patience in trying to quiet little Georgia." And the man said, "Oh no, I am Georgia." The man who walked into the house panting and almost completely exhausted. So his wife asked, "Honey, what happened?" The man gasped, "Wow, it's a great new idea I had, you know. I ran all the way from behind the bus and I saved 50 cents. So the wife said, "Oh, that wasn't very bright. Why didn't you run behind a taxi and save $3? There was a man walking down the street and noticed a sign reading, say, Hams, Carline, Chinese laundry, you know. And he was very curious. So he come in and asked, who identified himself as the Carline, the Chinese man. He come in the shop and the Chinese man identified himself as Carline. "How come you have a name like that?" So the stranger asked, and the Oriental explained that, in very broken English, that when he landed in America the first time, he was standing in the immigration line behind a German. Carline is the German name, yeah. So when asked his name, the German replied, "Carline." And when the immigration officer asked the Oriental his name, he said, "Something." Something. And the officer wrote out Carline. Something is his name, but it is not something. There's a stranger who burst into the doctor's office and said, "Good morning, doctor. I just dropped in to tell you how much I benefited from your treatment." The doctor said, "But you are not one of my patients. I didn't treat you." So the stranger say, yes, I know, but my Uncle Bill was your patient. And I inherited all his all his possessions now. Understand, huh? Yeah. There was a man who rushed into a drugstore and asked a pharmacist for something to stop the hiccups. The drugstore pharmacist pouted, poured a glass of water and threw it into the man's face. Why did you do that? The man was so angry. Well, you don't have a hiccups now, do you? No, the one who has hiccups is my wife in the car. Wrong treatment, you know. You know, if you have a hiccup, people shock you and you stop the hiccup. They didn't even ask who has what. An Air Force major was promoted to colonel and received a brand new office. So when he came in the first morning, an airman knocked on their door and asked to speak to him. So the new colonel, feeling the urge to impress the young airman, picked up his phone and said, yes, General, thank you. Yes, I will pass it along to the president this afternoon. Yes, sir, goodbye, sir. Then turning to the airman, he barked, what do you want? Sir, nothing important. I just came to install your telephone. You understand, huh? It's not connected yet. I just came to connect your telephone. In a sales company, the boss said to the employee, the main thing to remember that repetition is the keynote. If you have a product to sell, keep harping on it every possible way, repeating it, cram it down people's throats, make yourself sickening and repulsive if you have to. But don't ever forget to repeat and repeat and repeat. It's the only way to get results and sell our product. The employee say, yes, sir. And the boss say, and now, what was it that you came to see me about? The employee say, well, sir, arise, 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 and arise. Understood, huh? Yes. Father was remonstrating the case. How dare you kick your little brother in the stomach? And the son said, it's his fault, Father. Who told him to turn around? There was a man who on the lecture platform and keep talking. As he was talking, people in the audience began to get up and leave. After about 10 minutes, there was only one man left. Finally, the man stopped speaking and come down and asked the man why he remained to the end and when nobody else does. He said, well, I'm the next speaker. There's a minister who was asked to inform a man with a heart condition that he had just inherited $1 million because everyone was worried with his heart trouble he might, get too shocked and die. So the minister said, okay, no problem. He went over and to the house and gently, talk around, and then finally he said, John, what would you do if you inherited $1 million? What would you do? And John responded, well, Pastor, I think I would give half of it to the church, to your church. And the minister fell over dead. You understand? He shocked himself. There was a boy who liked to get into a swim club. Yeah, he loved to swim, but then the owner stopped him because he has long hair. He said for the health reason, long hair boys were not allowed to use this swimming pool. Get the haircut and you'll be welcome, said the owner. But some of the greatest men had long hair, the young man said. Who? the woman asked, the owner asked, he said, well, Moses and Jesus, they have long hair. Or the woman said, I won't let them in either. Okay, this one is a good one. There was a little old lady in the corner of the street, and the wind was blowing terribly, and then she was holding her head with both hands, while the wind was blowing her skirt all over the street. So a dignified southern gentleman came up and said to her, ma'am, you should be ashamed of yourself, letting your skirts blow around, being exposed indecent while both hands hold to your head. What's the use? So she said, well, look, everything down there is 84 years old. This hat is brand new. What's more valuable, huh? The officer come to a soldier and asked, soldier, do you have a change for $1? And the soldier said, yes, buddy, sure. And the officer said, that's no way to address an officer. Now let's try again. So the officer said, soldier, do you have a change for $1? And the soldier said, no, sir. The little boy comes crying to his mother because his little sister pulled his hair. So the mother tried to soothe him down, said, don't be angry, don't be angry. Your little sister doesn't realize that pulling your hair will hurt. So a short while later, there's more crying and the mother comes to investigate. This time the sister is crying and her brother say, well, now she knows. A man goes to his doctor for a checkup, and the doctor tells him, I'm afraid I must operate immediately. The man said, but I feel fine. Say the doctor, I'm sorry, but I must check. And I just checked, and you must have this operation. It will be very difficult to perform, and it will cost you $30,000. But I don't have that much money, the patient said. The doctor said, don't worry, you don't have to pay it all at once. You can pay it in installments, paying a little every month, you know. So the man said, oh, like you are buying a car. Yes, said the doctor, I am. There was one also very funny, you know. There's a guy who went with a motorcycle to the country road, and then suddenly he saw a big water pot in the road, and he asked a country boy sitting nearby, you know, how deep is this stream? And the motorist asked him, he said, not so deep. Think I can drive through it? And the boy said, yeah, I think so. So the motorist started across, but his car sank in the middle of the stream and he barely escaped his life. But he come up and said, what do you mean by telling me I could drive across? This is so deep, 10 feet deep at least, it almost killed me. The boy scratched his head and said, oh, it's funny. It only reaches up to the middle of the duct. Okay guys, take a rest. And maybe, my God, so much jokes still.